the episode of Going Live with the MC. Shout out to 30 something episodes. We passed a milestone. That's pretty dope for me. 30 episodes. We had some dope guests on the show. Always dropping gems. That's the root of this show is to drop gems and share the story of the journey. Speaking of dope artists, we got my boy Cloud Ray. He's here with us today and he'll be stopping by to talk a number of things. So make sure you guys tap in. If you guys have any questions or comments, hit the little question mark inside the chat bubble at the bottom. And feel free to ask any questions or say what you need to say. Me and Cloud will definitely address it as the interview goes on. So tune in. All right. Oh,
There we go.
good, my boy.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing, Reef? It's good to see
I'm
you, man.
doing good. I actually can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me.
Nah, it's cool if you could see me though. I mean,
Yeah. How about now?
let's see. Nope. I still see myself.
Okay.
It's just showing a solo screen with just me in it. Um,
But you can hear me though,
no,
right?
I
You
could
can
definitely
definitely hear me.
hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah.
But so whenever I post a video, it's gonna show both of us. I don't know what's going on, but I experience this problem like every week,
Oh,
bro.
really? Okay, so this happened before. This is regular for you.
Well, the one screen thing, it only happened a few times, but it's always a problem getting someone in the chat or whatever. Yeah, that's something on Instagram's end. They gotta fix that.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, geez. All right. Well, I'm here. I can see you. So I think
What's good though,
we're
my
good to
boy? How you
go.
feeling?
One more time, what was that?
Oh, I was saying, how you feeling?
Oh man, today again I'm feeling abundant, grateful. It's we're shifting seasons, so naturally in life I think we also shift in our personal lives and I'm now embarking on that. So I'm taking one day at a time, each minute by minute, and trying not to place any expectations on what's next.
I feel that. I feel that. So when you say shift with the seasons, is there like a winter version of Cloud Ray?
So, yeah, I guess there is. This is typically the time where I kind of pull back from doing so many things
Hmm.
outside and just reserve my energy, come back to the basics, and really focus on the music instead of doing shows or doing pop-ups or events or things like that. So,
Mm.
I you can kind of compare this version of what the season that we're going into with me is like a bear about to go into hibernation.
I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this something new that you started embracing, or is it something that you've been living by for a while?
I mean, in my personal life, I definitely have been living by this standard for quite a while. I think that I've gone through so many different lifestyles during the other seasons, and then typically when it gets to winter, I kind of pull back from all of that and just want to stay in the house and not really do too
I feel
much.
that.
But as far as like my career, my music career, I would say that this is probably the first time in a while, in 4 years actually, that I have decided to move this extremely in this direction.
Mm.
So it's new, and I think that's where I'm kind of finding this balance for myself.
No, that's dope, actually. I actually made a post the other day about managing my self-discipline, like learning how to like do certain things better and push yourself into certain molds and
Hmm.
like not be afraid of the moment. Like this is what you be asking for. So like why would you not align yourself with that? So that's something that I'm also getting better at as well too, like learning to like, fall back from things. Like for example, this year I didn't perform in as many shows as I did in the past couple years. Like I used to be outside every day, like and
Yeah.
then I was like I just started saying to myself, like, you know what, this is costing me a lot of money, one. Two, I'm on a lot of
Hmm.
platforms where I don't really feel safe energy wise. Like, a lot of people come outside and they don't really be pure, intentionally. So I pick up on the energy and stuff like that. And then sometimes I just be seeing some shit that I don't need to be seeing, you know? So I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm cool on all that. You know, I'll fall back and just so I just made the choice to myself to like moving forward as entering this year, I was saying to myself, you know, what platforms, you know, can I invite my mom to? You know, where can I invite my family to? You know, like where would I like I want them to come to a spot and see me flourish and enjoy themselves at the same time. You feel me? Like I don't want to be in these toxic environments and it's draining me too much and then I still got to create and I still got to exist in my personal life and things of that nature, you know? So I feel you on that, man, definitely.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said there when it comes to the type of environments that we allow ourselves to be a part of. And I
Hmm.
think more than anything, too, it's um, not just the people who come, but the people who organize these things and what their intentions are as well. For independent artists, navigating the industry that way can be really scary, really difficult. I
Hmm.
just recently got out of a situation where I was contractually obligated to do a certain amount of shows with a specific group,
Hmm.
and this contract was so vague and so ambiguous that when it came down to defining some of the more specific details, I was faced with threats, I was faced with scammy and shady behavior, and I had to kind of make a decision for myself on how am I going to navigate this and move forward, because I know one thing is for sure. I never want to do this again. Like, I never want to put myself in a position where I'm subjected to a contract that looks like it was written by a third grader and then have all these threats hit me saying, oh, we're going to blackball you. We're going to do this, this, this. There's a lot to be said there.
I'm not laughing at you, by the
No,
way. It's just like,
no.
damn, son, like they really be trying to get us out here, man.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so it's crazy. So let me ask first. Are you comfortable with talking about the contractual stuff? Like, you don't got to get too deep into detail if it's like too touchy for you, but like, you know, I special like not specialize, but I like to you know, highlight those things, you know, because obviously I'm an independent artist as well too, you know, so I try to educate people on certain things, and I haven't exactly seen a contract or been through that exact phase, you know. So is that something you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say any names, but
That's
I
cool.
definitely will. I will advise artists, any indie artists that are tuning in or anybody watching, no matter what situation you're in, if you do receive a contract, make sure you have somebody in the legal field to review it for you or with you before you sign.
That's a fact.
And in my situation, I had been approached by this company to embark on a tour and
Hold on.
do.
Sorry. My bad.
No, you
I
good?
kind of wanted to I wanted to like, you know, work into it. I ain't my bad. I didn't want you to like dive straight into it because I
Okay.
know I understand it's a lot or whatever. But my bad, my bad. Nah, because I mean, this has been something that pondered on my mind for a long time, like since knowing you. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I've been around you and I've seen how you operate and stuff. You know, and so I've always had like a few questions. Um, Obviously you answered one of them already. You are independent now, but you were previously on a contract. Okay, so talk about that. Like, how did you get into that? Like, what was the conversation like getting you into the contract?
Yeah, so this I don't even really want to call them a booking agency because they were less than the sort. But what I will say is that this Play Pretend company reached out to me to get me involved in embarking on a tour with them, doing a certain amount of shows. And with that, I was excited because I felt like it came at the right time. I felt like, this is going to fill this kind of gap that I have in my schedule to be able to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And just for some context, in 2022, my mom had passed away, and thank you, and after she had passed, I didn't really take a lot of time to grieve her death. Instead, I decided to fill up my I guess, that empty void of not knowing how to deal with those emotions with work. Back to back, work, 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 work. And so I got right to working on music, right to booking shows, right to getting on tour, doing all of these amazing things. And, I was truly grateful
Mhm.
for all of the opportunities, even the one that I'm going to discuss with you. But I think that, being that I was in that emotional state, I didn't always make the most clear headed decisions for myself.
Mm.
And, the people around me who support me greatly and help to direct and guide me are great for all of those things. But they have lives too. They're also pretty busy. So it's not like I have immediate access to them
Mm.
24/7. And sometimes I end up in situations where I pull the trigger too soon, or I have to make a decision myself. And that's kind of how I ended up getting involved with this group that reached out.
Mm.
So, they approached me, and I remember talking to my team about it. I said, hey, these people reached out. They do all these different shows throughout the United States and overseas. I think this could be a great opportunity for me to embark on new shows in more professional arenas and even travel overseas and get some footing out there.
Mhm.
And initially, the conversation with my team was that this could be a great opportunity, and it aligns with your schedule and it works. Let's look into it. Um, and after looking into, I guess, the forefront, which is basic stuff like their Instagram, their website,
Right.
and then even some of the artists who maybe had performed with them in the past, I just remember being like, wow, like this is cakewalk. Like I could do this.
Right.
I could totally see myself doing this. And, I'll point out, have to take responsibility throughout this story. I didn't do enough research. I didn't do my diligence as far as
Right.
going in and making sure I knew not only what the good things were, but what are the bad things. And
Mhm.
there were a lot. I uncovered so much by just adding the word scam to the name of this company in a Google search. So there was a lot of,
Yo,
yeah,
so wait, you searched up the company and just put scam at the ending and it told you
yeah.
everything?
And it
Yo,
told
that's
me
sick.
everything. And if I had done that initially before signing a contract, before entertaining the situation,
Right.
I do believe I would have saved myself so much emotional stress,
Hmm.
so much money, and all of the things that come with just being unsure as an independent artist with an opportunity and not knowing like what to do with it. So, I eventually reached back out to them and expressed my interest in working with them and saying, hey, if I'm going to do this, these are the shows I want to do. I want to make sure I get great arenas. I want to make sure I touch down in cities where I know I have a fan base so that people could come out.
Mm.
And, the company had explained to me that the way it works is that you pay upfront for your ticket sales so
Mm.
that all of your ticket sales are covered. But then you still have to meet a certain quota of ticket sales at the venue.
Scam.
And right.
Carry on.
And mind you, so, through all of this, I'm thinking that, well, if I take care of the ticket sales up front, I shouldn't have any problem bringing people to the show because I pretty much just purchased all of the tickets for every show I'm doing.
Right.
And, I think that it's important to note as well that one of the major things that kind of was skated by in this conversation is that travel was not included, stay was not included, and that they reserved
Mm.
the right to cancel a show the day before without any kind of reimbursement to you. The only thing that they can offer is like, well, we'll either put you on another show or of your choice, or we'll put you on a show in that area within the same week, and you'll just have to be ready to go. And immediately I knew that uh, something wasn't right with that situation as I was having this conversation, but I think, again, being an independent artist and wanting to kind of explore what my options were and what I could do,
Mm.
there was a certain level of, well, these red flags don't really outweigh all the green flags in this moment. And again, I think this for me was one of those moments where I was very hypnotized by all the bright shining lights of like,
Mm.
wow, I'm gonna get on these stages and I'm gonna have this long to perform. These people are gonna, there's gonna be a ton of people at these shows. And a couple of I pretty much all of the shows were marketed as a festival, but when you get there, it's more so an intimate showcase. So, that's another important aspect. There's a huge difference between what a festival is versus what like an open mic showcase type of vibe is.
So
And
were they more like open mics? Okay.
yeah, it was more
Yeah.
it was more like, think of it like an exclusive open mic that you had to
Exclusive.
pay
Okay. Okay.
for
Got
all
it.
the
Got
tickets in advance for.
it. So they basically invited their own friends in every city type shit to make it look like something.
Yeah, and I guess there were other artists who, were able to bring out friends and family and
Right.
things like that. But um, I basically, again, I wanted to kind of get involved with this to further expand my reach, my brand, my music, just my footprint. Like,
Right.
who is Cloud Ray? You know what I mean? I wanted the world to know more about me and the music. And I think not only was I driven by the amount of success that my first EP got, because I had no idea it was going to blow like that, but
Mm.
also, again,
What
it
was
goes back to my.
that? Is that because of the team you was with, or was that on your own methods?
What do you mean?
You said your EP blew up. Was that because the contract that you had with this group to do the touring, or was that because of stuff that you already had in place?
Oh no, actually, first of all, I had put this project out. It was my first EP, Urban City Elegance. I put it out with no marketing around it at all. Like, I didn't have any videos. I didn't have any short form content to promote. I didn't know who was going to listen to it, and I put it out, and I guess it got picked up in Spotify's algorithm. And
Mm.
I mean, in 2023, it surpassed 1 million streams. I
Congrats
was,
on that.
thank you. Yeah, I just couldn't believe that I was going to be received at all. Like, to find that out was mind blowing. But that achievement really inspired me to kind of push forward
Mm.
with, wanting to do more, because I said, if people are listening and they like this music, what's to say that people won't love it live? um, I just have to get in more of these local places for people to hear it. So, um, this tour situation just happened to be one of the opportunities that I at the time looked at would help me expand my reach in that way.
Mhm.
And man, I mean, the entire situation as a whole, just ultimately, yes, I got to go a lot of new places and some I've been to before, but
Mm.
it was not, it was just not an ideal situation for me. I don't think it would be great for any other artist to embark on. And when you go to these shows and the entire lineup of artists is having side conversations about how they all feel the same way,
Yeah,
it's a big telltale sign that this is not right. So,
that's what it was for me, for real.
you said this is what it was for you?
Yeah, like when I was at certain events and stuff like that, like it would just be a whole lot of chatter amongst the artists, like, "Oh, I don't like this," or "This always happens here," or "We never catch a break." So I just started listening to the chatter. I was like, you know what? Yeah, right. I'm out. Like, like no, seriously, it's like another big thing that I've been working on is peeping the red flags and like literally removing myself before it affects me. So shit like that. So I get what you mean by that. You're definitely right about that.
Yeah, there's a certain level of, I think, I don't want to say naivety that comes with this, like just being like naive,
Mm.
but I think that there's a level of innocence, rather. That's the right word I want to use.
Hmm.
With
Okay.
being an independent artist and not having either the experience or the right connections or whatever it is, and you kind of have to throw yourself into the fire a little bit
Right.
and just learn as you go. So that's pretty much this whole situation, man. I just finished up my my tour with them. I'm, I've washed my hands clean of that situation, and my takeaway from this for me and for any other artists would just be just, make sure you have a legal team to help you
Mm.
to look over a situation. Now, in my situation, I acquired my entertainment lawyer shortly after I already signed the contract. And when he reviewed the contract, he said to me, like, man, if I had seen this beforehand, I would have told you this is bogus.
Mm.
Don't do it.
That's tough.
But yeah,
Okay, so damn, man. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad it happened because you feel me, your eyes are open now and you know how to navigate.
yeah. And me too. I'm grateful. Like one of the things I said earlier is that even though I went through that, I'm grateful I went through that situation because I learned so much that I would not have learned if I hadn't gone through it. I think now I can not only take this experience and give advice to other people, but now I know how to move a lot more proportionately within my own career,
That's a fact.
So I'm grateful for that, for sure.
That's a fact. So you said you had to do a certain amount of shows. Did that stretch over a certain amount of years, or did you have to do that? Like, what was the time period on that, and how many shows did you have to do?
Yeah, so I believe it was 10 shows and it was over the course of a year.
Mhm.
And there were I don't remember exactly when in 2024 we started. I think the trauma maybe caused me to like block out all of the shows when they started, because I think from the very first shows that I went into with this group, we had a lot of issues. There were a lot of yelling matches over phone calls, and it was not a good situation. So going into the first show, I don't remember when it was, but I do know that it was over the course of this year, and I just ended recently, so um, that's really the basis of what they had in the contract for me. However, there was a situation in, I want to say, May, where I was supposed to have two shows in London, and
Mm.
one of the shows ended up getting canceled, supposedly. And so I had called the company to make a deal to say, hey, I wanted to negotiate to say, hey, I have another artist that I am working on a song with. They are a phenomenal act. They would be a great addition to the one show I still have left in London. Can we set it up so that maybe they get a set on that same stage with me, and that'll make up for the one show that you guys owe me?
Mm.
And somehow we came to the agreement, but then a week before, they tried to rescind the offer by saying, hey, the show is still going on and you're still on the lineup. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not on that lineup. You guys canceled the show and took me off the lineup. They said,
Bullshit.
no, we temporarily paused it. And, now that we know we're going to have a great turnout, you're on the lineup and you're scheduled to perform. And I said, no, I'm not. By this
Yeah.
point in time, I had already made arrangements to travel through Europe, to do shows in Paris, Amsterdam, Germany. Like, there were things in motion that I couldn't pull back from. So at this point, to hit me with that last minute and then try to hold the contract over my head, like, well, you're obligated to do this because you signed,
Mm.
is crazy. And I just want to add in there too that every time that I had to discuss the contract with these people, one of the things that I consistently asked for was, please, can you revise the contract or send in an updated contract, something for me to sign that reflects our current negotiation and deal.
Right.
No, we don't do that. We don't do that. That was the response I got. So, yeah.
That's whack. So the show you're referring to, that was when, and damn, you said you don't want to say names, but that was when you was in London around the same time I was there, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. So that makes sense. It all pieces together now. Wow, that's crazy. I thought you guys just randomly traveled out there. You were just having a great time, being friends and shit. So that was
Yeah.
my perception of it. The involved party didn't, I don't think he knew much of it anyway, now that you say it from this angle. But yeah, he didn't really say much either. He just posted the clip that he was out there. And I was like, no freaking way. Like, you guys are out here at the same time. And it's funny because I was in the same exact area. I was in Brixton when he
Yeah,
posted the clip.
yeah.
So I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, we was literally like right down the block from each other type shit.
So I do want to clarify that he had full awareness of the whole situation because of how involved he was with that negotiation. So from
Got it.
that point forward, he was
Did you
very
have to sign a
involved.
contract? He didn't have to sign nothing,
No,
right?
he didn't have to
Okay.
sign a contract. So for those of you who are listening, the person that we're referring to is the other artist that I was trying to get on board with the show in London. I had a song with this other artist, and the tour company had just canceled the second show in London, so I approached them to say, "Hey, I'm working with another artist. I'd love to get him on the show as a replacement for the show that you guys took me off of."
Mm,
So, this artist, he had full awareness of the whole situation. I had to fill him in because he was going to come on board as an artist. The production company of this tour company wanted to actually hire this artist to not only film, but to
mm,
edit the filmed show, which in total duration, I think, was about um, 8 hours, 9 hours of filming.
mm,
And they wanted to have individual cuts of each artist with a fancy edit. And they wanted to pay
mm,
this artist $250 for a lineup of like 10 to 12
mm.
artists, 25-minute sets each. And I'm like, $250 is a ripoff, especially if you're not paying for them to fly out to London. You're not paying them
It's
for the show.
expensive to go out there
It's
too. Like,
expensive to go out there. Yeah. So, there was a lot of situations that were involved behind the scenes with this artist and with this tour company that he was very much well aware of. But the reason why he didn't say anything to you or to anybody else is because during that same time, I had already done enough shows with this group to, they would take like group photos at the end of a show.
mm,
And I had no awareness of how they were using my likeness.
mm,
And it was only a few days before I had a group call with the artist and the tour company to kind of pull everything together. I found out that this company was using my name and the photos I was in with the group photos to kind of reel other artists who were in my circle or in, who I have connections with to come on board and sign a contract with them. They're
mm.
saying, "Hey, Cloud Ray did it. You guys should do it too." I had no idea.
That's tough. See, now that you put it that way, using your likeness against you, I have actually been in a situation like that. Quick story about it. So I was on the beach one day, going home, coming from the beach, because I used to sell like my edibles and stuff, whatever, on the sand and stuff.
Hmm.
And I met this film director on the train. So I was listening to music on the speaker. Specifically, I was listening to the 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 10 laws, 10, it's 10 laws, something like that, but it's by J-Zach. It's not the 10 Commandments by Biggie
Yeah.
Smalls, but it's the
Yeah.
10 laws or something by J-Zach. But anyway, so I was listening to that, and she was like, "Is that you?" And I said, "No," so I threw on a song, I threw on Mr. Unexpected, and she enjoyed that song like fully. She was like, "Yeah, I'd love to like, shoot some content with you and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh shit, this is random." It felt divine, like how you said, it was the right moment. So we chopped it up. She was very like consistent with communication, and I don't think that it was like a huge scam or anything because I didn't have to pay anything or whatever the case is. She funded the studio session and all of that. She asked me to bring somebody to help because somebody canceled. She paid them. I didn't get paid for it, but um, long story short, the footage was used in a bunch of different stuff. So, including most notably, do you know 19 Keys? It's like a podcast on, I don't know if they only on YouTube, but they have like high level conversations.
Okay. No, I'm
Um,
not familiar.
okay, so I don't watch the show that much either, but they have like a lot of dope conversations since I've been tapping into it. But there was an episode with Dame Dash, and they featured me in the episode. Like they have the clip of me rapping in the studio in that same episode, and I had no idea of this. Everyone is just hitting out, and I kid you not, everybody that I ever knew, like people I've never spoken to in years, hitting me up. Yo, is this you in this video? Yo, is that you right there? And I'm like, yo, for real? So I reached
Wow.
out to the lady. I'm still trying to get the footage to this day. Like she put it on this whole website. It's like super hard to download or whatever. But she's been, I guess, very communicative as far as like getting the footage and stuff like that. But she never told me, she never mentioned that this was gonna go here. It popped up on some art app that somebody was using as well. They sent that to me. So it's been popping up in like different places, and I'm just like, I should be paid for this, you know? Like
Right.
you're
Sharing
using
your
me to
likeness.
advertise this, like so. Yeah, it was just kind of like a slap in the face to me. It was like, yeah, I'm happy for that experience. It was a great, dope experience. But if I would have known, like, who know? Like, I don't even know if she's making money off of this. Like, and she has to be.
Yeah.
She has to be. So, things like that. It's just kind of crazy. But yeah. So moving on. You got off the contract. Were there any like hidden clauses or anything like that? Did they ever say like, oh well, at the end of the contract, it does say you have to do one special, or like there wasn't nothing like tying you down. You was just able to walk away freely with no issues, no stress.
Listen, I don't want to speak nothing into existence because
I
that
feel you.
contract, from what I understand, is done. But I will not put anything past these people. So I moving forward, I have to kind of leave this behind me with the knowledge that I learned what I needed to learn from this experience
Mhm.
on a physical level, on a mental level, on a spiritual level, take it as growth and never allow myself to enter another situation like that.
Mhm.
So I just, that's all the only thing I can do moving forward here. I can't dive deeper into that contract. If they do hit me with anything or try to hit me with anything, I am now backed by a legal team, so there's not a lot of stress there. And the legal team I have, we've already reviewed the contract enough to know that the contract is, again, like I said in the very beginning, it looks like it's written by a third grader. And
Mhm.
that alone doesn't give much grounding for them to stand on in a court of law for any reason. I've done
Mhm.
my part. I fulfilled the contract as it pertains to my responsibilities and what's required of me.
Mhm.
So that was my main concern. Like, I didn't want to after maybe like the whole London situation, I was so done. I was so ready to walk away and just be like, yo, I'm not doing any more shows for these people. I don't care what it is, I don't care what that contract says, but my legal team, my management, they all said, listen, just fulfill your
Mhm.
responsibilities in this contract so that there is nothing that they can hold against you. And as far as my knowledge, I have done just that. So yeah.
I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. And shout out to you for making it through that. So this leads into my next question. You wake up the next day, you're an independent artist, you get to do what you want to do again. What was your first move?
Well, I just literally like 3 days ago finished this tour. So I
Oh shit, I'm,
am
I'm thinking this is like a year ago or something. My bad.
no, you're good. Yeah, and I want to clarify too. Through all of this, I remained an independent artist. I wasn't signed to a label or anything. It wasn't a situation
just
where
just
they
the
owned
tour.
any of my music. Right. It was just a situation where they presented me a contract to be able to do a certain amount of shows and to build a certain amount of momentum. But again, they presented to you with all of the sparkles and flashing lights and all of the major stages and the platforms and the sold out arenas and footage back from who knows when of crowds filled out in the room, when in
Yeah.
reality you have one person in the corner of the venue smoking a cigar and another person trying to pull people back to a brothel. So it's like, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I performed in some pretty amazing venues.
Hmm.
However, I don't think that the company that put these tours on utilized these venues well. So,
That part.
shout out to all the venues because they were all beautiful venues.
Hmm.
I think responsibility of how they were presented and how they were utilized falls on the tour company and what they did with it. So
Right.
yeah,
I'm big on that as well too. Um, so I don't want to like stick around. Mind you, this is all segueing into everything. Trust me. It was
yeah,
just it's just a very interesting topic, you know, and I'm glad that you're willing to share.
yeah.
So upon getting into music, what like did you want to be signed to a label? And like when you, I guess, came across this opportunity, did that like, I mean, you already said you don't want to sign to anything else, but like, was that the shattering moment for you?
So I think to clarify here too, like I learned my lesson as far as what to look out for and what shady things that maybe seem minuscule at first are actually really big things to really look at and not
Right.
miss. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to deter me from kind of not signing things, but more so it's going to make me more vigilant, more aware of what I'm about to get myself involved with and who am I giving my likeness to, who's going to be controlling my music, my image, or any of the things that are involved with me as a person, as a brand, as a company. And with being signed to a label initially, I wanted to I wanted to find my success as an independent artist before I approached a label for anything. I don't think specifically I had the goal to go and get signed, like get
Mm-hmm.
a major 360 deal or to get some kind of huge record label deal as one of their artists.
Mm-hmm.
But I was pretty open to whatever I could get, meaning, I was involved with production before I became an artist. I was also a songwriter, a recording engineer, and mixing engineer. So, I think there were several different avenues for me as far as like if I were to bridge myself with uh, a label, that it could be in the form of a publishing deal, a production deal, a single deal, songwriting continuum, anything that would kind of make sense for any of the avenues that I have skills in, not just being an artist. But with specifically being an artist, again, I didn't pursue any of that because I wanted to find my success as an indie first. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think that no matter the amount of backing they could provide me as an indie artist out of nowhere, that I would gain the right amount of genuine traction as what some might call like an industry plant,
Right.
which I've had the luck, I will say, to be around in my experience in this industry so far. Like I've seen how artists become planted and how that works. And it's interesting, but it's not my steez. Like I don't want to all of a sudden come out of nowhere and have all of this traction, fake love, and this manufactured sound that
Mm-hmm.
I have no creative control over or no creative process in, because a lot of these industry plants don't do anything for themselves. Anything.
But
And at
that's why
that
they like
point,
it though.
right, you become a machine, you become a cash cow. So I didn't I didn't want to lose my creativity or the rights to my creativity by becoming an industry plant,
Mm-hmm.
or even being involved with uh, pushing one, for lack of better words. But this is why I'm trying to find my success now more so as an independent artist rather than a signed label artist, because there's so much more experience to be had in pursuing the groundwork. There's so much more validity to an artist that actually can be creative on the spot and doesn't need to look at their management to say, what are my next lines, or to read a teleprompter, or you know
Right. No, seriously.
you know what I'm
Seriously.
saying? Like there's just so much.
Yeah, yeah, nah, I feel that. So how long have you been doing music, and was Cloud Ray your first name, or like did you ever have any before that? Matter of fact, better yet, not even how long were you doing music? What was your first start? Because you said you had a bunch of different avenues and stuff. So like what introduced you to it ultimately, and what led you to, being who you are today?
Yeah. I mean, from a young age, I knew that I wanted to be involved with music. You know, one of the things that really defined that for me, looking back on my life, is that, you know, at an early age when I was in elementary school, kids were going outside to play recess. They were going to play kickball and hopscotch and jump rope or whatever they were playing. I was inside writing the lyrics to songs I heard on the radio. Like that was my pastime. That was my hobby. I didn't
Right.
have any particular reason at that point in my life as to like why I wanted to do that. It was just something innately that I think happened within me. And now that I look back on it, I really look at it as an inner calling that was emerging from me at a young age. And I always, every year after that, I always wanted to be musically involved with something, but I didn't really have a great school life experience. So, you know, I grew up in a single parent household, so I didn't really have a lot of help at home to understand what I was learning in school and
Right.
to do my homework and to do all of the things that required me to get involved with these musical opportunities.
Right.
And you know, my mom, she was working a lot of jobs to make sure she could make the rent and make ends meet, put clothes on my back, put food on the table. So, you know, a part of me had to also mature very quickly.
Are you
But
the only child?
in this household, yes. I have five sisters though. Yeah. And, you know, I grew up in this household as the only child. So,
Mm.
you know, me and my mom, we had to figure things out. We had to make things work, and both individually and together. And you know, a lot of the individual things took a toll on me because, again, like I said, I couldn't get involved with musical opportunities because I wasn't doing well in schoolwork, and I was doing great in all the creative stuff because it was what I wanted to do, and it was where I found, I guess, an escape for all of the things that I was kind of struggling with, like maturing more quickly than all of the kids around
Mhm.
me. But um, you know, that's where all of my musical inclinations really started. And by the time I turned 16, I had decided that once I got out of high school, I was going to go into a school dedicated to music. I think,
Mm.
you know, and to everybody who's watching, this is not knocking anybody who has an education or who's going for one. I recommend going to school, learning what you can, getting out and becoming essential to either your community or to whatever fulfills you. My experience was that I felt after so many years of just not understanding things and not getting the help I needed, even from peers, right, from teachers. They knew I was struggling and choose to turn a blind eye to my situation. Guidance
Mm.
counselors didn't
That's tough.
help. So, yeah, it was a tough upbringing in my school experience. So, you know, I decided I wanted to go to school for music and just music. No
Mm.
extra literacy, algebras, history, none of that. Let me learn about what I want to know and get out and apply myself in the real world.
As you should.
And yeah, and so that's what I did. I went to school. I did a community college 2 years, which was great. I did music there. And then I got out. While I was going to community college, I was also going to iTech Audio in Clifton, New Jersey. Shout out to Wilkes Figueroa. He teaches a multitude of musical courses
Mm.
that range from music theory to music business. But
Right.
everything in between is everything in between is where I kind of found my grounding. I learned songwriting, vocal technique, studio etiquette, production, um, you know, and all of the legal business stuff as well, how to copyright your music and all of the processes that you go through. So I was very grateful too that, you know, he as a teacher really taught me what I needed to know because I think that was one of the first times in my whole life where I really felt like I was receiving the help that I asked for. If I didn't understand something, I asked for help and I got it.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I'll always give my blessings, love, gratitude to my mentor. He really, really helped me. And after that, I got out. I got my first job as a studio engineer, and I had a couple great opportunities to work with some bigger names. And That ended up leading to another situation where I ended up working for another bigger studio that was a subsidiary of Atlantic. And
Mm.
so I got more opportunities now to work with, a couple more bigger names, and
Right.
that was great. And you know, I think after a while of doing that, I had felt comfortable enough financially and experience wise to kind of branch away from doing that, knowing that I could
Hmm.
move into my artistry, and if that doesn't work out, I can fall back on this as plan B. So
Right.
yeah, so I decided to pursue my artistry in 2020. I think in 2019 I was in the planning phase. So you can
Hmm.
technically add that in there because I was taking my artistry seriously then, but nothing was official. I had not released anything as Cloud Ray. I had not established an LLC at that point. There was nothing that you could find online during 2019
Were you
that
clouded at that time?
yeah, yeah, I wasn't Cloud Ray at that time, right, right. I had a different stage name, and that was crazy. It was not a professional name. Thankfully, I had Brandy come in. I had management help
Said
me
it
with that.
was not professional.
Right, right. So
What was it, if you don't mind me asking? Because what could be not
it wasn't
professional as a name?
terrible. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It didn't fit what I was doing. It didn't match. So the stage name I had was Ayo Pen, and um, yeah, that was a crazy stage name, and definitely
Yo,
it
welcome to the
didn't it didn't
stage. Like,
yeah, nah. Oh my, cut the cameras, y'all, cut the cameras. Yeah, so it definitely was not the right name for me. Eventually, ultimately we decided on Cloud Ray, and Cloud Ray really touched further into my
mm,
spirituality. Um, I'm a Libra, so naturally I balance a lot of things in my life, and I also really enjoy spending my time in nature. When I can go on hikes, I do it. When I can go to the beach, I'll be there all day. I'm the type to really enjoy the outside, whether
mm,
I'm alone or with a group of people. And what I do in my music is I bring hip hop and pop elements like EDM, dance
mm-hmm.
together, and I mash it up in a way where like the hip hop is going to bring you the realness of a situation that you might be going through, but the pop element is going to kind of cloud that, pun intended, with all of the dance and
Right.
upbeat, energetic, energy to make you celebrate whatever it is you're talking about, so that it's not setting you back. You don't feel like it's just depressing you further. And um, I find there's a beautiful balance there because I don't know many artists that can do what I'm doing that are as mainstream as, like, for example, the Black Eyed Peas, Usher, Flo Rida,
Right.
Pitbull, Kanye West, right? These are some of the greats that really do that well.
Mm.
And I feel like that sound has kind of fizzled out. Like they had an era where it was really mainstream and really popping, but I feel like now that sound has kind of fizzled out. So I I'm not
There's a
looking to
market.
re
Sorry, there's definitely a market for it. It didn't fizzle out. Because I had this conversation recently with someone too. They were like, hip hop is dead or whatever. I said, no, y'all just stick to whatever they advertise. Y'all don't actually dive, you know? So
right.
not a knock on you, but like I feel like a lot of times we don't know about stuff because we don't look into it, you know? So
Right.
yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't think either that it's that there is no market for it. I do think there is a market for the type of music I'm creating and that has been created.
Mm,
However, like to your point, I don't think it's advertised as well as it was during the period of time that it was in the 2010s era, all the way up until like 2016, right? We had that kind of moment for hip hop and pop where it was merged together in that way. And and then again, like it just fizzled out of being advertised as well. So we just don't have much awareness to it like we used to. And I'm not looking to revive it, but more so add to what it was and
mm.
still apply my own artistry in that
I
sense.
feel that.
So
No, listen, man, I'm all for it, and I kind of feel the same way, with rap and hip hop, where I'm at now, because I have to like remind people that I'm not like I don't take offense to when people call me an old head, or like they say I'm stuck in the past or whatever the case is. But it's like y'all forgot this is how we fell in love with hip hop.
Hmm.
The cadence, the flow, the storytelling, like all of it. So even going back to that's fun fact. I had a Flow Rider phase. You feel me? At one point in my life, I was a huge Flow Rider
Oh
fan.
yeah, he was dope.
You, you feel me? So, I
Yeah,
totally understand where you're coming from with this. Like I'm fully there with you. So yeah, no, I just think ultimately um you're not reviving anything. You're just living in something that inspired you and you would love to, show that it still lives.
absolutely. And that's really where I'm at. So, with what I do, bringing that storytelling in through the hip hop and bringing the energy in through the pop dance EDM music, I bridge those
Mm.
together in the way that, like, you know, clouds bring a certain element in nature and sunshine brings a certain element in nature. So
Mhm.
that's the balance of the two worlds for me. And I think that, uh, some of the best days, in my opinion, are when it's not too hot and it's not too shady. Like it's the right mix of the two. So Cloud Ray is what came about when talking about that with my management at the time.
That's dope. That's dope. Um, so what was it like for you? So a lot of people they start music when they're like younger. They get into like the performing, recording, and stuff like this. You've had time to grow, develop. So you've had like a sharp mind with this.
Mhm.
What was it like actually doing it now? Like now you're actually creating music. Now you're actually recording. Now you're touching stages and states and countries. Like what is it like now? Like actually doing the work.
Oh man, it's surreal. I'll be so honest with you. I'm still in this mindset emotionally too, where I haven't fully grieved my mom's death. So, when I look back on these things, I don't really get emotional, but I get kind of the right word is it's like I have this lack of perception that I actually did all of these things. And I think
Mhm.
there's a layer of also being a perfectionist that's involved here. I like to have everything to a T. I like to be prepared. I like to make sure something is ready next to go, like all the time.
Right.
That coupled with me not dealing with my mom's passing, I think often prevents me from acknowledging all of my accomplishments. And when I look back on these things, I'm like, wow, like I really did that. And then, I have the devil on my shoulder saying, like, nah, it's not enough. Keep going. Rah, rah, rah. And then I got the angel on my shoulder saying, no, you have to give yourself a pat on the back. Like, you did good. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not good enough. Like, I have to keep
Mhm.
going. So I don't really. It's funny because as a kid, I remember sleeping in the back of my mom's car as she would drive into the city at night to do her job. She was a aqua Zumba instructor, so she would often teach fitness in the gym. Sometimes she would have day classes, sometimes night classes. And I remember, sleeping in the back of the car, and we're going through Times Square, and I see all the lights kind
Mhm.
of just going by the windows, and feeling this overwhelming sense and energy of like, this is going to be your lifestyle. You're going to be driving through these flashing, shiny lights through different cities, different places. This is not the only time you're going to feel this energy. And now that I've gotten to do it, I guess you could say that it felt surreal, but
Mhm.
also, I don't know, man. I think I got some things I got to work through emotionally because I just have this blockage where I'll go through amazing things and I'll be happy in the moment, but as soon as it's done, I'm like, all right, what's the plan for what's next? And I don't really have enough time to be patient with myself there. And I think I need to. I need to be honest about just taking the time to absorb what I just did and really appreciate it.
Mhm. It's funny you say that because I'm the opposite. Like I'm the type that'll sit in the moment of something and be like, "Yo, I did that."
Yeah.
And I also get that, it's vulnerability vulnerability. You feel me? I usually be like, oh, I'm not trying to make people cry, but just being vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? So, when my uncle ended up, passing or whatever to a situation, it took a while for me too to like fully grieve it. And I still don't think that I'm fully healed from it. You get what I'm saying? As much as I wake up every day and I push forward and I'm like, I'm over it. A lot of times I get to certain moments, like the show that I did 2 weeks ago. Like I really sat back and was like, damn, son, my uncle not here to see this shit. Like I was backstage, like for the second half of the show, just sitting back there, like, damn, son, this dude would really be happy to see me here. So it'd be stuff like that, that really just offset it. And it's hard to be happy for yourself in the moment. So I get it 100%. Um, but a lot of times people tell me that, yo, you get on the next wave or do the next thing or and it's just like, nah, I kind of want to just soak in the success right here. I like how this feels right here. I'm getting used to this level of growth, like I don't want to just jump to the next level right away. So I'm with you on that. As far as understanding how to move forward, with your journey. It definitely is a day by day thing, and you learn more and more about yourself. But what I will say, as far as situation with your mom, definitely grieve freely. You feel me? Don't feel pressured to grieve. Just do it whenever it's convenient for you. So and that helps. That helped me with my creativity. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of me forcing it, like, damn, how come I didn't do this or how come I didn't honor him this way? I just started letting life flow. You know, when I started getting back into my creative wave, I started like, obviously I can't, as artists, we can't let go of certain things if we don't talk about it, in our music. So that was another thing. I had to talk about it in music as well. So it's just different processes and stuff that you go through that really help you, grieve, because I feel like grieving is important and a lot of us don't talk about it, so definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And, one of the things I had to do initially, so a week after my mom's passing, I had called my production team out in Nashville and I had said, look, I wrote a collection of songs and I think that this deserves to be like a project. And I don't think I would do this project justice if I didn't have you guys fully produce it. So my artist development coach who owns the production company, her name is Natalie K. Robertson. She really took me under her wing and she really, really pushed for this project to be absolutely everything that I could imagine for not just um, homage to my mom and her impact on me and her being here, but also the next level of creativity from Cloud Ray. She's worked with me so intricately over the past 3 years. So she has a full understanding of who I am as a person, as an artist, and now with this new collection of songs, she has a more in-depth understanding of how I felt, what I was going through, what I couldn't express verbally,
Hmm.
um, and what I did express verbally. And I think there's a lot for me to look forward to in terms of when that project comes out. I think I'm going to have so much more of an emotional release because don't get me wrong, like writing all of these songs after my mom's passing was really helpful for me. And I think it was a great form of grieving. But I don't really fully think I'll feel the effects of that until it's out and everybody can hear it and understand and feel what I was feeling and I guess in a sense relate to me. I'm nervous for that. I don't know how people are going to relate to that and I don't know how I'm going to respond emotionally because right now I feel like a brick wall. Like I feel kind of like I've built myself up to just I have to be strong. Let me just get through it. What's next? What's next? What's next? You know what I mean? But this project would be the bulldozer to knock that whole thing down. When it comes out, just having to have some of these conversations with people about why I wrote this or what I meant when I said this line or how the song makes them feel. I think that is really what's gonna open the floodgates. Like it's all gonna just pour out. Um, yeah.
Nah, that's dope, man. That's beautiful that you're open to sharing this, because again, we don't know what anyone's going through until they tell us. So thank you for being open for
Yeah,
that. Um,
man.
so what was what was like your first performance like, and what would you say right now at your current stage? What are your takeaways? Because obviously creating the music is one thing, but now you have to present. So let me add to that too. Sorry, for a little context, especially for those that's watching that don't know Cloud Ray, this guy performs. Like he performs for him. Like there's not like I'm taking a shot at myself because sometimes I don't move around. I don't like moving around on stage too much. I'm not jumping. I'm not doing none of that shit. Like I mean, if the song calls for it, then yes, maybe. If the vibe, yes, cool. But you wouldn't catch me initially doing it. But you're on stage. What's crazy to me is like you'll be in the crowd, we'll be talking, chopping it up, having a regular conversation. You get on stage, you just in character mode, and I'm like, yo, like how does he, And but another thing too is that which we're gonna talk about moving forward, your style of music. Small business mom is called it hip hop, but energy music. But
Love
so
that.
basically, it's been actually my first time hearing you. And this is how I know that I needed to open my mind to like music more. So I'm at the show, I'm listening to the performances. You came on, and sometimes I'm not gonna lie, when I think music is not good, or if I feel like I'm not interested in it, or I just haven't heard enough of it to be like, yeah, I'm sold. I'll probably walk away. So in that moment, I had a decision to like really respect the artistry or just listen to that closed part of my mind and be like go outside and do something. So
Yeah.
I sat there and I just watched you perform and I was just like, you know what? This guy's actually fire. And then I don't think we spoke the first time that I actually saw you perform, but moving forward, I started to see you more. And that's what made me realize, at this point, like, yo, I'm starting to be around people who's teaching me to like do certain things. So now, shout out to you, you know what I'm saying? You and, I have like, I want to say like maybe 3 artists, 4 artists that have actually taught me how to be a better performer without teaching me anything, like without actually sitting down and,
Yeah.
going through shit. Like, just watching you guys do your thing. So yeah, what was your first performance like, and what are some of your takeaways now where you are in your career?
Wow. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. I
You
did
are
not know that. That is amazing, and I genuinely I have such a mutual respect for you as a performer because one of the things that you do so eloquently is tell a story, and you do it in such a way that it draws people in so that they don't just feel like they're listening, but they also feel like they're participating. And with that being said, I think that there's just there's so many
right.
layers
Right.
of what it means to be a performance artist. And while, again, you feel that you may have learned some things, I know that I've learned a lot from watching you perform. And I know I felt a lot from being in your audience.
Mhm.
So I just
Appreciate
want to
that.
thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
And my first performance, funny enough, was my album release party. And
What?
yeah, it wasn't an album, I apologize. It was an EP, my Urban City Elegance release party. And um, I think by this point in time, it was my first ever release, and I had been, watching the numbers steadily growing uh, on social media. I'm sorry, not social media, on streaming platforms.
Mm.
And it was very minimal. Like, I mean, like when I tell you the project came out and I'm like, oh, we got like 3 listens. We're doing great, y'all. Like the numbers were steadily increasing. Um, and, I was very nervous. I had been working with my artist development coach
Mm.
who had been teaching me vocal technique and stage presence. And
Mm.
um, I had also gone, above and beyond to kind of prepare myself as an artist, regardless of whether it was my first performance or not. I'm like, you know what? I need to have my LLC done. I need to have merch ready. I need to have people in the crowd. I need to have a certain look. Production needs to be here. The guests need to have drinks in their hands. Like when I tell you, I wanted to make sure, again, perfectionism is like a thing for me.
Right. Right. I feel you.
I need to make sure everything is right and I'm presenting myself as the most professional version of an artist on the stage, even if it is just the first time.
Mm.
And so yeah, I thankfully I had a great community around me. I was able to book the space that I was working out of, which is shout out to the Media City Studio in Lyndhurst, New
Mm.
Jersey. Felix
Mm.
Nassau Jr., he runs that facility and he is the celebrity photographer for every celebrity you could ever think of. He's
Mm.
great. And through him, I was able to book that space for my first performance. And we had a great turnout. We had a lot of people come in. I sold a lot of merch.
Mm. That's
And
dope.
yeah, and man, when I tell you, it was it was a phenomenal show. I wore a white sparkly jacket. I was really hot, but I powered through. And we had fog, we had all of the elements, and I still was able to deliver with such punctuality and I had such just strong technique and movements, and it really gave me a foundation for myself moving forward.
Mm.
I told myself, from this point on, I'm not going to allow myself to deliver anything less than what I delivered today. So
Facts.
yeah, so that was, the most important thing to me, that making sure that I could always deliver a certain level of quality, because whether it's these people who are in the audience that want to continue listening to me or coming back to my shows, or
Mm.
newcomers, I always want to set the precedent, want to set the foundation, the
Mhm.
standard of what it means to go to a Cloud Ray show.
Mhm.
And, like you described, I'm energetic, I'm moving around. So part of that is the entertainment aspect of it. Like I want people to be entertained and I want people to feel engaged. So yeah, that's probably my first experience doing a live performance there. And I also just want to throw in a little tidbit here too. Shortly after, I got a phenomenal opportunity. It was my first big opportunity to perform on like a real venue stage, like in like a theater.
Mm.
Um, and it was at the Franklin Theater in Franklin, Tennessee.
Mm.
And this is, man, when I tell you like greats of the greats have performed on this stage, it was intimidating. I was like, wow, I'm about to be on this stage in front of a sold out audience performing my music. This is nuts.
How
Um,
many people?
it had to be, oh, geez, I don't even know, man. All I could tell you is that, the seats were filled, people were standing, people were shouting. I threw merch out into the crowd, people were screaming to get merch. I had
That's
a
beautiful.
dancer on stage with me, and she was dressed in carnival, like Juve outfit. She had the whole feathers and the tiara and all of the sparkles, the ball gown, heels. It
Mm.
was truly a beautiful
Beautiful.
experience. Yeah, man.
I'm happy for you. Shit, man. That sounds great. That sounds
Thank you.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Work. Nah, that's dope, man. So yeah, now we can get into some of your projects, man. First off, I just want to say, what I find the most interesting about your journey now that you've explained it all to me. Like I said, a lot of us, we hear about it, it becomes a pipe dream. It's something that we chase and we hope to get to a certain level, right? But everything that you've done, everything that you've experienced, you've already been prepared for. Like you had it in your mind that this is what you wanted to do, and you made sure that you didn't just jump straight into it because you wanted to do it. You educated yourself, you surrounded yourself around people. So actually, before we get into the music, I want to ask, because I don't have a team at all. So, and I noticed you mentioned management, legal, like, how do you even go about, for the people listening, how do you even go about pulling together a team, because I assume that it definitely costs money as well. And it definitely includes, people being pure with their intentions. So how does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the major things is building relationships. And
Mm,
a lot of people will tell you in this industry, it's not what talent you have, but it's the relationships that you have. And that
mhm,
is the truth. I think there's so much validity to that statement. When you are out in these music industry opportunities, whether it's a mixer, a live show, an after party, whatever it is, you know, start building your relationships or continue building on the ones you already have, because you don't know when they're going to take effect for
big
you.
facts.
And the relationships that I have acquired, again, I started out working in this industry not as an artist, but as a recording engineer, as a producer and songwriter. So the relationships I had built early on when I decided to become an artist now took effect.
Mhm,
Now I can apply myself to those relationships because I had already began establishing them earlier on. And that's really all I can say. Like the producer that I worked with, he's a two-time platinum producer with placements with Akon,
mhm.
Fetty Wap, Rihanna, like all these major names. I
Right.
never in a million years would I have thought, oh, I'm gonna get an entire project produced by him, or to even have that relationship. But because
Mhm.
you start early on and you build these relationships, you be yourself, be a genuine person, and then when you approach these people and you have a plan and you say, hey, I'm not doing this for play pretend, you know they
Right.
have
No,
way
real,
more respect for you,
real,
which is another thing I want to,
real,
yeah,
bro.
it's another thing I want to touch on, because one of the biggest struggles I had early on with acquiring a team and specifically management was that I wasn't taken seriously. And
Mm-hmm.
for, I would say, even the first 2 years of my career up until 2022, I just was not taken seriously, even with the team, even with people. So it, just because somebody doesn't have people around them doesn't mean they're not doing the right things. And somebody who does have people around them, they could be doing all the right things and still not receive the right support. Now, given the team I had around me was working to make the best of what they felt they could make at the time. However, the prospects that I wanted to be invested in, the people who were looking at me that I wanted to be working with,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't think I was a serious artist. They didn't think I was ready. They didn't give me the respect of being an artist. I remember being laughed out of rooms. I remember being laughed at as I was performing. There were moments where I would play music and they would just unplug the music. I've had even moments.
Crazy.
I've even had moments where I've had a studio session that I was doing for my music completely interrupted because, yeah, and taken over by another artist because they were prioritized because they were a serious artist and I wasn't. So, um,
Yo.
and hold on. So, I mean, even when we talk about working with engineers and other producers, that's a whole nother level of like, oh, nah, like you're not gonna go anywhere. I don't believe in your music, or you know, I don't do the type of music you do, so I can't work with you. Like the amount of just depreciation of who I
Tell me every
was,
time
what I
I heard that
do,
one.
yeah, is insane. But my my point is that building the right relationships will benefit in your favor when you are ready
Mhm.
for them and when they are right for you. So, as an artist right now, without a team, without management, if it's something that you're looking for, my suggestion and advice to you is to remove all of the expectation away from what you need and what you think you want around you. Do it yourself for now. Build the value and respect for yourself, because when the people who will do those things and come around you, you will have a better gauge of how to put them in check when they are not doing things to your standard. Because at the end of the day, only you are going to provide the level of quality that you want for yourself, and all they are going to be able to do is assist you with it. So,
Real shit.
You know, the moment that they are not really assisting you to the level you need them to is the moment that you can stand on business 10 toes on it. Like, you're not doing what you need to be doing. You know what I mean? But you won't
Fact.
know that unless you start doing these things yourself. And when people come in, they, it doesn't even matter if the relationship was good to begin with. If they see you as a cash cow, they are not going to respect any standard that you might have idealized for yourself.
Mm.
And they'll take advantage of you. So I would say get all the experience that you can doing it yourself, putting your all into it before you allow somebody else to come in and apply their skills to what you already know how to do. Because at the end of the day, too, if you can make it work for yourself and you don't need them, that's an extra money, an extra check, an extra whatever you don't have to fork out because you can do it yourself. What is
Talk
their
about
value?
it. Talk about it. Yo, see, no funny shit. Like this is really where I'm at, in my career, and it's crazy to say this. Like, going back to what I asked you, like, did you always want to sign a contract? It was my dream to sign a fucking contract. Like, I purposely, I envisioned myself only signing to three labels. It was either going to be Def Jam, it was going to be Young Money, or it was going to be Dreamville. Those are the only three labels that I was actually interested in. And Def
Hmm.
Jam, because that's what we grew up on, you feel me? So, but it just ultimately, just I had this feeling like I didn't experience too many crazy situations. I think most recently I started really realizing scams and shit like that, like people really trying to like get me. But for the most part, I've been on that journey where I was like, you know what? I don't have a label yet, but I'm sure I can get a show. I don't have fans yet, but I'm pretty sure I can get somebody to come out to a show. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I started having these thoughts like, yo, if I can't get there, I can create it until I'm able to, and it just, like you said, like the building of relationships, like everything just happened naturally, and I think when I started realizing that it was happening that way, I started caring less and less for like labels, and then that's when we obviously started hearing the backstories, other artists talking about, everything. So it's just crazy how that works out, and I'm a firm believer in what's meant for you will not miss you. You
Hmm.
feel me? So, yes, you definitely on the right path, my brother. You definitely doing the right things. You around the right people. So I'm proud of you, my brother, man. I gotta give it out, man. I'm proud.
Man, thank you. I really appreciate that. And,
Nah,
you
no
know,
doubt, no doubt.
with everything that I was telling you about, it definitely took a lot of trial and
Frank Knight
tribulation to get to.
said, let him hold $6. My
You
fault.
said, what'd you say?
Nah, Frank Knight said, let him hold $6.
Oh, God. Well, shout out, Frank. Yeah, man.
Yeah, trials and tribulations. Sorry.
No, no, you're good, man. And that's really what it is. It took a lot to get to where I'm at now. It took a lot of relationships that I thought would work for me and that failed to help me see what I needed versus what I didn't. And I'm at the end of the day, I'm grateful for all of it because I got to learn, I got to understand the balance, and not only the balance, but the standard that I'm setting for myself and the people I allow around me because it's no longer what I need. It's what am I allowing? You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I have my business, I'm running it, and I only want to add in things and people that will benefit the business, assist it at the standard, at the level, the capacity that I am functioning at.
Mhm.
So it definitely takes a lot of trial and tribulation to get there. But what I will say again is stand 10 toes on what you know you can do, the right
Mhm.
people, and listen, I'm sure you have a lot of eyes on you, more than you think. That's another thing with any
I'm
artist
realizing
you get out there.
this though. I'm just realizing this, to be real
Yeah.
with you. Like I'm like it's insane. Like now, actually, let's take it back to pianos. I didn't. That show at pianos was like such a huge pivotal moment. Shout out to Frank Knight as well too. I don't know if he's still in here, but I'll talk about it. So when I was promoting that show, I ultimately knew that I can get people to come out because it was a live band. Like I felt like that was a different element, that people would be interested in seeing. But
Yeah.
I had no idea people were ready to see me perform. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like this was like the first time that I could say that people popped up to a show and I had no idea they were coming. Like, because I'm inviting people, some people left me on scene. Some of the same people that popped up left me on
Hmm.
scene or whatever. And I don't get discouraged by that, by the way. I hit up the next person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One no is like 1,000 yeses somewhere else, so I'm good. But uh I just remember being there. I know like my family was coming through. I saw you pop. Obviously, you were performing, but like to see you pop up. A lot of times when I see, like my artist friends pop up, I forget that y'all performing, and I'm kind of like, oh, I'm in a good space. I got my friends here,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it was like that. It was like I had good people around me, stuff like that. But it was in the moment while I'm on stage, I start looking around and I see people singing the lyrics. I see people dancing, like people that don't even know who I am. Like you could see their whole mood was changed. Like so things like that. I am realizing now that there are a lot of people actually watching, and so that was a great point. For definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's more eyes than you know, and as indie artists, we often can get lost in the fact that we don't feel like there are, it's a feeling like, oh, well, we don't feel like anything's really happening or moving for us behind what's in front of us,
Hmm.
and we don't know. We just don't know. And there are more eyes on us than we think. There are more conversations being had behind closed doors, in rooms you're not in, where your name is present, and
Hmm.
people are talking about you, your artistry, your music, the level of performance, all of the things. And there's a level of trust that you have to have beyond not being able to be in all those rooms and being unaware that those things are happening for you
Hmm.
and that they are working for you in your best advantage. So, it's important to put that out there. And, to your point, back to pianos, I do want to touch on that as well. Like that same night, shout out to Frank Knight, I had a couple that came up to me that said they traveled from, I believe, North Carolina to come see me perform, and that they had found the listing for the show on Songkick, which is a touring website
You
where you can list all
told
of
me
the
about
shows
that.
that are. Yeah, and they found me on there, listened to my music for months, finally had seen that there was a show in Brooklyn, and that was the piano show that Frank Knight was hosting, and they came up to me after my set and they told me, "Hey Cloud, we've been listening to your music for months, and we finally had an opportunity to come up to New York, and we had to make you one of our stops because
Mm,
we love your music and we've
that's
been wanting to
dope.
see you perform for a while."
That's
I
sick.
was blown away. But you never know how things are working behind the scenes. I didn't know I had eyes on me from the Carolinas like that. Like, what?
Nah, real
It's
talk, real
insane,
talk.
So I'm trying my best to kind of come to terms with that as well. But where I can give encouragement and where I can give positive energy into this kind of a conversation with another artist,
Mm.
I will, because it's so important. We need this for our own mental health, for our own
Okay.
sake, and just trusting that there is more at play than we can see. We can only move the pawns in front of us and expect those movements, but we don't know what the other players are doing. We don't know what's going on in their head. We don't know what happens once they leave the board game. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different things,
Facts.
so many different elements that we don't control that are still in motion. So, yeah.
Nah, you 100% right about that. Um, so look, I want to make this last segment of this strictly about your music. Honestly, okay, so I don't know if you noticed, but like this whole thing has been off the fly. Like I don't. Sometimes I write notes, but most times I'm like literally just I know the person that I'm talking to. I know the questions I want to ask them,
Yeah.
and that's why building relationships is important because I get to prepare myself for stuff like this without having to stress about it. Um, so yeah, I didn't know how this interview was gonna go. I just kind of was just like, I know who I'm gonna, I know what I'm gonna do, what we're gonna talk about, but I had no idea like you had like this huge story that we actually needed to hear. So I
It's a
appreciate
great
that.
flow, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm gonna dive through your projects, and I'll be 100% honest with you. I have not tapped into your full discography. The only songs I know are "Can't Blame You," "Gaslighter," and "Drip." Those are the like.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and that's off the top of my head. I can actually sing those, like, so, But I say that to say because that's been one of my hobbies now. Like now, whenever I find an artist and meet an artist, I will literally go through their whole discography. I'm from the album era, by the way. You feel me? So I listen
Yeah,
to albums front to back. Like I'm not
right.
skipping nothing. I want to hear everything you did. So I will be doing that, after this actually. I actually have a playlist with everyone's music. Not everyone, but like whoever I find interesting, I have a playlist of like the songs that I like by you guys. So you're in that playlist as well.
Wow, thank
But that's
you.
Yeah,
Wow,
no,
that's
seriously,
amazing.
I really do support like the artists, like because I'm like it's much bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? I started realizing this, you know, after learning how to network. Because I used to go to shows and leave, only because I didn't know how to interact with
Yeah.
people. Like so, yeah. So moving into this, you started off with Urban City Elegance. What what made you name this project that? What was your direction when putting this project out? And who designed the cover art?
Yeah, so I actually decided to name this project Urban City Elegance to reflect the styles that I was bringing to the project.
Mhm.
So, for example, when I think of an urban city, I'm thinking of the grunge, I'm thinking of the hip hop, and I'm thinking of the elements that surround hip hop culture. And I'm looking into that, and I'm like, okay, I have elements of that in the songs on this project. Then I look at like city elegance, right? And just those two words alone, and I'm like, okay, now I think of things that are a little bit more posh, a little bit more chic, a little bit more fancy and elegant, bougie, for lack of better words.
Right.
And I relate that to more of like club elements and high scale environments where there's the energy is shifted to this just it's just upscale, so it's like it reflects the up tempo beat energy, all of the vibes that come with that,
Mm,
and I mesh those two things together, and that's how we have urban city elegance.
mm,
um, so, on that project, again, I think there's a nice balance of hip hop in the verses. I think I have two slower tempo songs on there that feel more hip hop and a little less pop. And
mm,
then we have on the flip side elements where, again, there's a balance between the hip hop and then there's songs that are just a little more pop than hip hop. So all around there's a good balance of all of the things there. And then as far as the cover art, the same people who created my website, shout out to Galaxy Visuals,
oh
they
yeah.
also worked on my first cover art. um, they did this in tandem with my website so that it would have a consistency in my brand,
Mm.
and I loved it. I'm a huge fan of what they did with it. Was super grateful for that, and I want to also shout out Ashley Clayton Photography and Trigger Jones,
Mm.
who both curated the shoot at the Vineyard, which we took the photos at. Um, Damn, I don't remember the name of the vineyard. Oh, this is
I'm
terrible.
I'm actually just realizing the wine glasses behind you. I love wine, by the way, so this is dope. This hits.
Yeah, and I had a beautiful time there. They had a beautiful chandelier that was handmade,
Mhm.
and I wish I remembered the name. It was a beautiful, beautiful spot. But I
Mm.
will say, if you do go on my website and you go to the About Me page, you will find all of the information there. So shout out to the Vineyard. I apologize that I don't remember your
It's
name
all
at the
good.
moment, but
No worries.
yeah, that's
All
pretty
right.
much everybody involved there.
That's dope. That's dope, and you did a great job with this because I had to hit up the Microsoft Office and draw. I literally drew like when you look at the Unexpected Volume 1, I drew that shit in the computer. Like
Hey, man. there's a lot of talent that you have to
So
be able to do that. So
I
kudos to
didn't know
you.
anybody, bro. I didn't know nothing. I didn't know
Yeah.
anybody. I had to really learn how to do all of this shit. So like even editing now, even my cover art now, and well, the one for the Unexpected 3, I designed it as far as like I told people what I wanted, but I actually got someone to do that one finally. But I was just so hell bent on learning how to do the shit myself. So it's dope, when people come together and make elements pop.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a song on here that I find interesting, and I think it's probably gonna be. Nah, I'm gonna listen to it from the start to end. Uh, but 404 user not found. Was that an accident? Like, I don't know. Because naturally, if I were to see this, I would think it was like a technical error with Spotify. Did you mean to name it that? Like,
Yeah, because the song was about my ex-girlfriend, who, in my opinion, was a technical error in my life. So that shout out to her, by the way, because without you, I wouldn't be able to write
I
this
ain't never
song.
heard that before.
So
So, it's a technical error. Damn.
yeah. So yeah, that's a song I had written about my ex, and I think I was in a place of a little bit of denial, right? Because I had ended the relationship,
Mm,
and there was a lot of turmoil situations that followed. But I, I kind of was in this space of being petty, where I'm like, yeah, I'm over you, it's done. But then we had a 4.5 year relationship, so obviously those emotions don't just go away overnight. I definitely think I was experiencing that, for lack of better words, like postpartum breakup effect, and yeah, I wrote 404 Using I Found. I was in a different headspace then. While I don't feel any differently about the situation now, in terms of like, I do feel like that relationship was a mistake.
mm,
I'm still grateful for all of the experiences that I had in that relationship.
mm.
I'm still grateful for all of the things I learned and for all of the growth acquired in that relationship. But I hadn't paid attention to the red flags from the beginning, and I guess being as naive as I was young. I was 18 when I got in a relationship.
Mm.
I didn't pay attention to all the things I should have. So, it ended up coming to it again, a crazy ending, but that is what 404 Using I Found is about.
Yeah, nah, that's dope. Thanks for sharing that. And so that's what the song Next Time is about as well. I know it's a lot of people love that song, but that's literally what it is. Like just basically saying, my exes with technical errors, but also being responsible when saying that I was naive to like not pay attention to those red flags. So that's really, really dope how you explain that. Um,
Thank
is it safe to say that this project was about her? Because I'm looking at the titles now. I'm looking at the names. Can't blame you. Let me go. Feel good. Like it's like, yo, this guy was going through it,
you.
sir. Like,
Yeah, I definitely was going through a lot of relationship stuff. It wasn't just about her. I think I can attribute 404 to my ex. I can attribute Let Me Go to my ex. And those are the only two songs to my ex. Can't Blame You is about a girl I was in a um how do I say this? We were in a relationship that wasn't a relationship.
mm,
It was more of like a mutual
I get it.
uh, situation. um,
Good man.
but I wanted to pursue her further, and she led me on to believe that that could happen. So
Mm,
finally, in that situation, she had completely shut down on me. She had ended up deciding that she didn't even want to be with men anymore. It was a
mm.
whole thing, yeah. And um, Can't Blame You was
Good
really about
situation
like,
you picked.
I did so much for you, and you thought your life was gonna turn out better this way. It didn't, but hey, I can't blame you because at the end of the day, I put myself here to entertain this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it is what it is. I put myself in this situation. Um, Feel Good, I wrote to just kind of let go of all of the relationship stuff
Mm,
and be like, you know what? I'm back to being a player again. Like, let me enjoy myself as a single man. You feel me?
Mm.
Let me go to the clubs. Let me enjoy myself. Let me party it
Right.
up and feel good about it. So, and then I actually wrote that about a family member who um,
Mm.
consistently just pulled so much energy wise away from me. And uh, I don't want to dive too deep into that record because the situation is still pretty close to home.
Mm.
But what I will say is that this person had created a divide between me and two other family members.
Mm.
And um, yeah, it caused a lot of emotional pain. And that's why when I performed that record, I pretty much am like just belting my lungs out. Like, just take what you want from me because I don't really have
Right.
anything left to give. I gave you all I could. I
Mm.
did the best I could. Why is this not enough?
Nah, that's real, man. That's super real. So do people ever hear your songs and be like, "Yo, like we gotta have a talk somewhere"? Because I remember, like,
Yeah.
there's a song called "Not Like Me." Obviously, yeah, it sounds like Kendrick, but this came out years ago, like back in 2017. Um, and like, I didn't mean, like, we was low key still dating at the time, but we was like at the breakup, like right there. And I had made the song, and I think she had came over to my house on this particular day to like try to, work shit out, but I was already done. And I didn't know she came over. So like my mom let her in. So I'm
Oh
going through
man.
the EP. This is Bars Over Everything too, the EP. So I'm playing it now and I'm listening to all the songs and I'm like, yeah, this is a full project. I'm like going in and she walks in as that song is playing. And she's like,
Divine alignment.
she
See
said,
that?
yeah, she just sat down on the bed. She listened to it, and she didn't catch her until like the second verse, and she was like, "Wait a minute!" But I didn't name drop anybody. I didn't say anything like crazy
Yeah.
disrespectful. It was just like, if you know, you know.
hmm
Like, so
hmm
has that happened to you? Like,
So, funny enough, with Take, I actually played it for the person that it was about,
mm,
and I think this person is 100% a narcissist. Somebody who is so full of themselves that they don't have the self awareness that we're talking about now in that kind of a situation. They sat there, they listened to the song, and they said, "This is my favorite song for the whole project." And I looked at them and I said, "It's no wonder why that song is your favorite." There was nothing else I could really say, but I
how
mean,
ironic.
how ironic, right? Um, and then, I mean, off of Urban City Elegance, I really haven't had that experience other than Take. And it really wasn't even like it didn't hit home for that person because they're so full of themselves.
Mm.
But, um, I'll say that We Need is one of my singles I released. That is one of the songs that I think I've had a situation like that.
You
And it
performed
wasn't
this
directly.
before, right?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You performed We Need before. I'm pretty sure I've heard this. I gotta listen to it again, but I'm pretty sure I've heard it, or maybe I've seen you post a clip about it or something.
Yeah, I definitely posted about it. I probably performed it. This record I actually wrote about my sister. Unfortunately, she and I no longer talk to each other, and that whole situation transpired because of my ex. So, this song, We Need, was originally supposed to be a part of Urban City Elegance.
Mm.
It was supposed to be a part of that story. However, when the EP and I came down to discussing what was going to go and what wasn't,
Mhm.
that was one of the tracks that got scrapped. It wasn't even supposed to come out. It got
Mm.
scrapped from the project. And Drip was another one. Drip was supposed to be a part of Urban City Elegance, and it didn't. It ended up not being a part of it just because the story for Urban City Elegance didn't really align with what Drip was offering.
Mm.
But that's why, again, too, when you pull up Drip, you can kind of see the colors on the cover art. The colors on the cover art kind of pay homage to Urban City
Yeah,
Elegance because it was supposed to be, it was
that's
supposed to be in the
interesting.
project.
That's dope.
But We Need was about, the situation with my sister. We stopped talking to each other because
Mm.
of my ex's involvement with their relationship caused a huge divide between me and my sister.
Mm.
And I remember my younger sister ended up playing the song for my sister.
Mm.
And I mean, I can't say that I remember exactly what her response was, but I remember she wrote me a letter and she
Mm.
said, "Hey, like, I don't talk to your ex anymore. I really want to fix things with you and I want to make things better. But I've come to learn that she might have her own set of issues, my sister.
Mm.
So when I investigated further to find out, like, what is the validity of this letter? Can I really trust what you're saying?
Mm.
I learned that I couldn't, and it's unfortunate. So I'm still in a situation where we're not speaking to each other. I think it's for the best. And that's probably the only other time where, my music has been presented to somebody in the sense like, this is about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah, that's again, thanks for sharing that, So nah, that's real right there. So Drip, who is Tati Dior? How did you guys cross paths, and what led you to create Drip? Wait, matter of fact, yeah, go ahead. So, matter of fact, no, I'm gonna ask this first. Was because you just mentioned that this was a part of Urban City Elegance. So, was she always on the song, or was this a new addition?
Okay, so yeah, let me start with the very beginning. So yes, Drip was supposed to be a part of Urban City Elegance. After conversations with my team, Drip did not make the cut. It wasn't scrapped. They wanted to scrap the record, but I fought for it. I said, listen, I really think that this record either needs to go out on another project or be a standalone single, but it should go out. Like, this one feels good. This one feels right. Um,
Mm.
and what we did was we kept the project alive. We searched for an artist to get on the female part so that we could push the record out and see what it could do. The first artist that we got on the project went through a lot of emotional issues and ended up not being. She rescinded her involvement completely. She couldn't do it. The second artist ended up going to
Mm.
rehab, having
Mm.
a couple other substance abuse issues that
Mm.
took away from her involvement to the project. The
Mm.
third artist ended up going to jail. I think she's still in there. The fourth artist we ended up getting, she was paid to get on the record, and her energy and vibe fit well, but she took advantage of being paid. She did the bare minimum, and then when we asked her to fulfill the rest of her duties, which she was supposed to do,
Mm.
she didn't commit to the project the way that we needed her to. You know, and unfortunately, the way I perceived it is that she took the money and ran. So yeah, and she
Typical.
didn't end up being on the final project at all.
Mm.
And you know, then finally, after all of the turmoil of finding somebody for Drip, we had already experienced so many issues. We felt like the record was cursed. So now,
I
mind
don't
you,
blame you, bro. I don't. I really
the I
don't.
can't blame you. Yeah, so they
Yo.
they the production, the team behind this, they wanted to scrap the record. They're like, Cloud, like, you can see it's not working out. Like, this, don't force this. And listen,
Like,
I'm very spiritual in the sense that I do believe, like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. You know what I'm saying? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
mhm.
Trust what comes to you with ease, and trust how things work out, but don't force things. And I think to an extent that is true, but I also feel like when you believe in something enough,
Mm.
you fight for it and you give it the opportunity to show you that it wasn't for you. And hey, if it wasn't for you, lesson learned. But in this case, I kept pushing them. I was like, just please hold out. There's going to be somebody, I can feel it. I ended up going on tour in June of 2023, and I landed in Houston, and I was out there for like a press tour. So we went to this press junket, and there were performances at this press junket, and I ended up meeting Tati Dior, and she was dressed like a Barbie doll. Like I remember she had this pink wig on, she had these little bow ties on her dress,
Mm.
and she had these knee-high boots, and I just remember her overall vibe and aesthetic being,
Mm.
oh yeah, like she's got it. She's branded. She's definitely got something. And I talked to her a little bit, and she's such a genuine, down-to-earth, kind person. She's very spiritually tuned in as well.
So,
And she was at the press junket, which already was a green flag for me because I'm like, okay, I know you take your artistry seriously. Like you're a professional. You're not just doing this as a hobby. Everybody in this room is taking their artistry seriously.
right,
When you're in the room with other labels, radio stations, interviewers, all these things, you're not just there because, you know what I'm saying?
right.
Like you're taking it very serious. So,
Mhm.
long story short, I got to see her perform. I was blown away because I didn't know what kind of music she was going to do. Why is it that she just so happens to also do hip hop and pop music? So I was like, this is like, yeah. I said, this might be the perfect union here. So I remember on my flight out of Houston, I was talking to my manager and I said, hey, man, we might have to reach out to her and get her on Drip. So
Mm.
he reaches out, he sends her the song, the music, and I think it was like within the same day, within an hour or a couple of hours, she responded and she's like, I'm on board, I'm with it, let's do it. Send me all the details. What do we have to do? And I was just like, yes, 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 like this is what we needed. So we sent her all of the things, and I think she completed everything within 2 weeks.
Mm.
And we ended up sending the record out to get mixed. Shout out to Mixed by Gabriel. And then we got the record mastered at Sterling Sounds. And shout out to Joe Laporta, who mastered Drip. Thank you for doing that. The record sounds
No,
phenomenal.
it
Um,
does for real.
one more time, would you say?
No, I said it does for real.
Yo, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and now we have Drip. I mean, by the grace of God, by the grace of her talent and her flexibility to work on this project while she was dealing with so many other things, I felt so blessed
Mhm.
that she was able to get on the record, that she wanted to get on the record, and what she applied to it took it 10 levels above everything else we had previously heard anyway. So overall, I felt like it was such a great union. So shout out to Tati Dior. Thank you for being on that record.
That's dope actually. And man, shout out to you, man, because you got some crazy ass backstories that like it just brings everything together. Like it makes sense. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like so, nah, that's really dope. So you mentioned that Drip and We Need, those were songs. What about Burn It Down? Was that also like something that was supposed to be on the project?
No, actually, Burn It Down came by coincidence. So I didn't
Yeah.
expect to work on Burn It Down at all. That record, I actually was introduced to the producer through Treadway, who produced Urban City Elegance.
Mhm.
And it was so casual. Like I think we were going through music in our studio session just to kind of take our brains off of what we had been working on. Because you know how it is. When you're in the
Right.
studio and you're working on a project, especially if you're doing overnight sessions, right? You are so locked into what you're doing that
Yep.
things start to, you kind of lose the quality of what you're working on because your ears gotten used to so much. So you have to kind of either pull away, watch a TV show, maybe play a video game, go out and get something to eat, or even in some cases, just work on something totally new, something totally different. So
Yep.
he's going through all the beats and all of the productions that he had previously worked on, and he had casually passed by the production for Burn It Down. And I was like, wait, go back to that one. What was that? What was
Love these
that?
songs.
Yeah. I'm like, hold on. We can't just go past that. And he's showing me um essentially what happens with the record
Mhm.
is that he and this other producer from LA had been working on it, but they never finished it. And I just looked at him and I was like, this is finished. Like, you don't have to do much more to this. Like, we maybe just need to add the vocals and then this is good. And quite literally, what you're hearing is the finished product of that. Like, we added the vocals in to Burn It Down, and that is the record. But um, I it was never meant to be a part of anything. It kind of happened by spur of the moment, very coincidentally. So
Mhm.
I was very blessed to be in that moment, to hear the record, to then say, hey, no, I want this one. And we ended up creating it and just pushing it out. Man, Burn It Down is definitely one of my faves. And it also gets to touch on my Caribbean roots, which I don't get to do quite often. So
Mhm.
I thought that was phenomenal. Yeah.
Fire, fire. So what I wanted to ask is, what message do you think this sends to other creatives when you don't give up on a song that hasn't quite reached its potential, like say Drip or We Need?
Well, I think for one, it testifies to who you are as an artist. I
Mhm.
think that there's a level of commitment that's involved with being an artist, because so much of this industry and so much of being an artist involves taking a risk, whether it's behind the scenes, with relationships, financially, with the music, with
Mhm.
performances. There's just so much involved without a guarantee. Putting all of my music out there, there's no guarantee that anybody's going to listen to the music. There's no
Mhm.
guarantee that I'm going to get a return. But the commitment to it is less to any of those things and more so to, you know, am I doing myself justice if I hold back from being an artist? Because what if people listen to it? What if I do get a return? What if I build a lot of great relationships because I put this out?
Right.
And, I don't, again, it's just, I don't think you'd be doing yourself justice if you hold back from allowing yourself to experience it. Either it's going to go well or it's going to flop. But nobody gets anywhere without flopping a few times. You feel me? Like,
For real.
we gotta fall and pick ourselves back up. And that's why I'm saying this kind of speaks to the testament of who you are as an artist. Just go
Mhm.
through with it, follow through, commit, see what happens, to say that you saw what happened, you know um yeah, that's pretty much what all I could say there.
Nah, that's dope. So I got just a few more questions.
Yeah.
Not a lot. So when you, I guess, I would say redesign, because that's what you did with Drip. You redesigned it. You gave it a new look and feel. It's. I want to say it's the same song from 2 years ago, but I didn't hear it when you initially created it. But um, I can definitely believe that this is something that you felt strongly in, right? And I think ultimately what I wanted to get at was what why do you think it's crucial to redesign something if it's not like, because you mentioned you don't know what you're doing by holding it back, like you don't know where it's gonna go. So I don't even know how to ask the question. Like, how do you redesign a song without knowing that you're actually going to get, like, let's just say, a much bigger impact? Like, what they say, save it for later. It might actually taste better. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's something my mom used to always say. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how I look at things sometimes. It's like maybe when you bring it out a little later and you add a little bit of salt on it, throw some Sazon on there, something like that,
That's
you
all.
might,
Yeah.
yeah, so, like, how important is that to, like, redesign and make necessary changes so that you ultimately, you know, complete your vision? Like, this is something that you saw yourself doing. So, like,
there's two things I want to say there. I think the first one is that because you had mentioned, well, you don't know what kind of impact you're going to get, or how can you determine the type of impact, and the reality there is that you can't determine how it's going to be received or what's going to happen, but the basic moral in committing and going following through is to see what happens, because you want to be able to say you did it and it didn't work out, or you want to be able to say you did it and it was a huge success. But to say, the best way I can put it is like, you don't get what you don't ask for. If you want to level up in your career and you have the relationships, ask. The worst they can say is no, but you'll never know if you don't ask. And it's the same thing with putting music out. Like, you'll never know if you don't do it. Just do it. See what happens.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing I want to say to answer your question. Secondly, I want to add that, depending on how things are moving for you, and I believe that you're a very energy-based person, so this is something that I think you'll be able to resonate with as well. When you energetically feel like, all right, something ain't moving in the right direction, you might want to pull back away because it may not be the right time, or it may not feel right. And you should trust that.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean you should never put it out. It just means that maybe the energy around it during this time doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel like the right move. And there's
Yep.
a reason that you're feeling that. Your body is responding to the stimulus, right? So what you need to do is understand that sometimes when you reserve in those settings, in those situations, you go through a period of needed growth
Mhm.
that wouldn't have happened if you forced it out. And maybe in that period of time, you also can take that growth and apply it to the record before it goes out. And then, and only then, will that record reflect the current state you're in, or even the current state of the world, or the current state of one person's life, as
Mhm.
opposed to something that you know, maybe just didn't connect the right way before, or maybe it didn't relay the information that you wanted in the song, the message, the right way, and now you know how to do it. Or maybe you didn't have the right players involved with the record, and now that space and time allowed you to bring the right people in so that the record can do the most that it can do. Doesn't mean you'll know what's going to happen, but it maybe means that the right people involved will do the best that they can do to make something happen, versus maybe the people who were involved before that were limited, or maybe didn't want to do much. So
Mhm.
there's just a level of in between that happens with maybe not putting a record out right away because of how you feel energetically. That is, again, I call it like divine timing, divine alignment. Like, respect the time that happens when things are right because it's meant for you, which you said before.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Nah, that's dope. That's really dope. So what can we expect from Cloud Ray moving forward into 2025? Do you have anything to end off the year with? How are we looking?
Yeah, I am going to be doing a final performance this year at the BK Arts Festival in Brooklyn. I believe it's in Ridgewood, New York.
Mhm.
And that'll be at the Box Factory. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of my artist friends. I'm looking forward to seeing all of my fans. I'm looking forward to seeing all of the new people in the room and making and building relationships. And I definitely will have new music coming out in 2025. So
Mhm.
you guys can expect, a whole bunch of new sounds from Cloud Ray. Towards the end of 2025, I'll be teasing my project. In
Mhm.
2026, my project will release.
Oh,
And
so you have all of this already mapped. Got it.
yeah, all the way to 2027, man. We're locked in.
Yo,
So
that's sick. Yo, we're not even there yet. You already got shit for it. That's dope, son. That's dope.
yeah. Yeah. So I just want to say, like, all of 2025, you
Mhm.
can expect single drops, collaboration projects to release. At the end of 2025, I'll start um, teasing the upcoming
Mhm.
project. Um, and then in 2026, you can expect it to drop.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then all the way into 2027, I'll have my very first album release. So
Sick.
yeah.
I'm excited for that, and we're not even there yet, man. Like, you gotta be looking 2 years in advance, man. 3 years. We're not even in 2025 yet. But nah, that's dope, man. That's dope. It's always great to be introspective. And again, I learned, so that's one of the things that I've been learning now. I want to be more directional with my creation, with my creative process. Like, for example, my cousin Manny Blanco, he kind of like you in a sense. There's been times where he's invited me over to his place, and and I'm sitting there, and he has like a board up, and it's like 2027. We're gonna release this album. It's gonna have this title. It's gonna have these colors, and like he's really meticulously planned like ahead. And I'm just like, yo, how do y'all know what the hell y'all want to do 4 or 5 years from now? Like I'm always in the moment. It's always like, okay, I feel like doing this now. Like, so shout out to y'all for being, visionaries. True visionaries. It takes a lot to do that and to stay focused on the task.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you for shining a light on it. Again, I am a perfectionist, so one of my one of my qualities is just making sure I have so many things planned out in advance. And it gives me the space to kind of ironically let go of my perfectionism, because as long as I know that there's something in place and I don't have to do much because it's already in place, I can just kind of relax and freely do anything else. So, yeah.
Right, right, right. Nah, I feel that. Um, Thank you for coming on the show, man. I like to ask everybody to drop some final gems. We greedy robbers over here. We can't carry everything, so I need you to drop something. For the people listening, the people that will be listening. By the way, I will say this. This has got to be top 5 episodes, because this is like, I think maybe like the 5th time I've done an episode where people were actively tuning in and commenting and stuff like this. So this is dope. Um,
Wow. Well, thank
yeah,
you for having me on, man. I think this has been such a blessing to be on your platform, and also to have such an intellectual conversation about all of these things together. I think that this was an impactful situation. It's no wonder to me that people have tuned in and have been able to listen to what we had to talk about, because all of these things introspectively matter, whether it's in the music industry or within everyday things in life. So, I shout out to you. Thank you for having the platform. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank you for everybody
appreciate
who tuned
that.
in. Yeah, I'm so grateful. So thank you, Reef. You to go.
I appreciate that, man. You too, man.
Thank you.
But yeah, my fault. If you want to leave anything with anybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I guess gems, right? Um, well, listen. No matter what you're involved in, whether it is the music industry or any other industry, I think the big takeaway from this conversation today is commit to whatever you involve yourself in, and trust yourself, and find the confidence within yourself to have that trust,
Hmm.
so that you can build yourself up in a way that people don't expect you to, and the ones that work against you will have no power over you, because you know what you bring, you know what you're capable of, and you know what you offer. There's a level of needing to, just be prepared for what's ahead. But I think too, when you build yourself up this way, things will hit you from left field, and you'll know how to move, because you know who you are, you know how you move, and again, what you're capable of and what you can offer. So, trust yourselves, believe in yourselves, and bring awareness to others of what you can do and what they can do as well. Build community.
Build community. That's huge, man. Thank you for that. For real, for real. Shout out to you again, man, for stopping by, sharing your story, your life, your music. Um, People are gonna really appreciate this one, man, because this is dope, for real, for real. You actually got yourself a new fan, Small Business Mamas. I actually met her last week at a vendors event.
Oh
She
wow.
does, forgive me if I'm saying the word wrong, but she does rosin art. Um,
So wait, there's people commenting in here?
oh, you can't see it. Nah, there's
No.
literally. Oh, so she's been on it the whole episode. She's been commenting, but people have been stopping in and saying things like they're commenting on what you say.
Oh wow.
Hef
Oh
Life popped
snap.
in here.
Okay.
AE the Broken Artist popped up in here. Frank Knight popped in here. Yeah, a few people popped up and said what's up.
Wow.
Usually
Oh my God.
I'm telling people to say stuff, but like, so that's why it's dope that they're in the, yeah, so it's dope.
That
So to even go
is
back on that,
amazing.
that's been the thing with this platform. Like I've been pushing this to people like, yo, come on the platform, let me shine light on you. But they literally, I can't tell you how many people that I thought would make the cut has left me on scene to this day.
Wow. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm just so blown away because I had no idea. Like I see the little number here, it fluctuates every now and then, but there's no comments coming up for me. So shout out to everybody who's in here. Shout out to the ones supporting, tuned in, listening to the conversation, engaging. I only hope that I was able to drop gems or some kind of knowledge and awareness of what I'm going through and how it might relate to you. I hope when you check out my music that you can find some comfort in my music, knowing that you're not alone in many different areas of life. Oh my God, I feel like I have to make this speech. I had no idea.
She says she said she loved your presence, everything about this interview.
Oh my God. And so can I shout them out? What is the name?
It's called Small Business Mamas. I'm gonna send you her page. She actually,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure she follows you or she's about to follow you, but she's been in here supporting you the whole time. Like she really loves
Oh
what you
my
got going on.
gosh. Small business mamas, thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly, greatly appreciate your love, your support, and everything you're contributing today in this live. Wow.
Yeah, dope, man. So this episode is about to go live on the page. Once I end this, I'm gonna share it to the page, and then most likely by this weekend it will be on YouTube. So you'll be
Okay.
able to share it and definitely tell everybody. I'm gonna add you as a collaborator on this, so your people can get to see this.
Yeah. That's
No
amazing.
doubt, man.
Thank you so
So
much.
next
Oh my gosh.
time, my brother, I'll see you in December. It's
All
been a
right,
great
brother.
episode.
Yeah, until we see each other again, as always, stay blessed, stay lit, and one love.
One love.
Oh, I don't know how that happened.
Oh yeah, you gotta
It's not
exit.
my
I'm gonna do my
birthday, I
little prayer
promise.
without.
Okay. All right. I'm tuning out here.
All right, guys, that's the end of another dope episode. I can't lie, I told y'all, man, every episode is a dope episode. You just never know how dope it's gonna be. All right, so we got another dope guest coming up on the 23rd. Wait, I don't know if I have anyone for the 23rd. I'll get back to you. I believe we have Ethan Moon. He is a sound engineer for So Far Sounds. If anyone's ever performed at a So Far show, you probably, well, in New York, if you performed at one in New York, you most likely know who Ethan Moon is. So Far Sounds is global, but we'll have him on to talk about some things. So make sure you guys tune in for the 23rd. Peace.